think we're live, boys.
Are we?
No intro? No countdown?
No intro.
Welcome to the Fantasy Q&A show. My name is Brian McFadden, aka the Pale Guy. Back after 2 weeks off, I'm joined by the Pro Football Demon Rich Jodice and the Buffalo Trill Kevin Phillip Fox. We also have producer Anthony behind the scenes managing the chat. Guys, we got the full crew here. We got a Bills TNF game coming up. Life could not be better, right, Rich?
Oh, it can't be. The only way it could be better is if the Jets were playing tonight. That would be
That's
it.
true. But you got a very winnable match coming up against in MetLife Stadium against the Giants.
Yeah, you just cursed them, Brian. Come on.
I didn't say I didn't guarantee a win or anything. I just said it was a winnable match, which is a fact, right?
Yeah.
So if this is your first time on this show, this is exactly what the show title says. We don't get tricky here. It is the Fantasy Q&A show. Ask us whatever questions you want. Start sit questions, trade advice questions, rankings questions. Doesn't matter. We will answer it. I will try my best to proctor it, to moderate it. We have our producer, Anthony, behind the scenes that is going to star in the chat the questions that we should answer, which means we should get to more when it's just the rest of us picking out questions. But however, the only way to guarantee your question gets answered is be on Pro Football Demons YouTube and use the Super Chat feature. So, guys, I'm ready to get started. I'm ready to talk some fantasy. How about you guys?
Let's get it.
Let's go.
All right, so Old Faithful J Dragon 91. Does that say 5:29 a.m.?
Oh, that's why we love him. That's why he's our boy.
He was thinking about us at 5:29 a.m.
That is no, you can't beat him. You cannot beat him. He guarantees his questions get answered. So, Jade, always nice to see you at Flex. First question of the day: Jalen Waddle, who was a limited practice for the second day in a row today. Josh Palmer, who missed practice. Josh Downs or KJ Osborne. Who should I start? Rich, we'll start with you on this.
For me, if Waddle plays, it's Waddle, and if he's not playing, then I'm going Downs. I think that's pretty easy for me. I'm not trusting Joshua Palmer, and I don't trust KJ Osborne, not AJ Osborne.
Yeah, McFadden, and I think I'm inclined to agree with Demon. Waddle is just he's lost a little bit of that shine that we've seen in previous seasons. He's not exploding week in, week out. But I think I'm still holding the bag there for another couple weeks. I'm going to keep trotting him out in my lineup until, sort of like T. Higgins, just putting the clown makeup on every Sunday and trotting him out there. And until you can't anymore, at which point I won't fault you for switching to Downs permanently. I do love Downs, but not this week against the Saints. I prefer Waddle this week.
Yeah, I agree with all that. You're not at a point where you're sitting Waddle at this point. I know he has not maybe been wide receiver one material because Tyreek has been literally on pace to break records.
Yeah.
But Waddle is still, we've seen what he can be, both as a possession receiver and as a big play threat, especially in this Mike McDaniel offense. I like it. I think Jalen Waddle is the play as long as he's active. I don't care that he's been limited in practice. It was a rib issue. He played through it last week. I'm not worried about that. But yes, Josh Downs, Rich, is to me the clear-cut number two, the guy I've been touting all offseason. I'd love to see the action he's get, especially with Gardner Minshew at quarterback. He hyper targets Downs. And this matchup against the Saints, we're probably going to see Lattimore matched up on Michael Pittman, which is going to leave a lot more targets in the slot. The Saints have been susceptible to slot receivers. Jay Dragon again. Just this is what happens when you wake up at 5:30 in the morning and get our questions in ahead of time.
He's earning it.
With Devontae Smith constantly getting outproduced by A.J. Brown, should I start Smith against the 27th in pass defense Washington or Watson against the 20? That is Christian Watson, who apparently that knee injury wasn't a big deal. He seems to be on pace to play against the 28th in pass defense Minnesota at flex. So basically he's asking Devontae Smith or Christian Watson in flex, Kev.
Yeah, this is unfortunately really easy for me. Christian Watson has not been consistent enough for me to earn a weekly spot in my lineup. and Devontae Smith. Despite the wide receiver 2 curse that's been placed on all of our favorite wide receiver 2s this year, we just talked about it with Jalen Waddle and T. Higgins. Unfortunately, I am looking in the mirror. I am putting on the fluffy nose. I'm smearing the tears on my eyes. I'm putting on my clown makeup, and I'm going to start Devontae Smith once again. You can't bench these guys. They're too good, but the production for all of them is a little bit slower this year than we hoped for.
Yeah, I'm starting Devontae Smith too. It's interesting. The Eagles have they do this thing where they are passing early so that they can run the ball later, and then but they're going to have a harder schedule coming up, so I think they're going to have to pass a little more down the line. And Devonta Smith was the 10th receiver last year. I think he's like 29th now, but I think towards the end of the season, he's going to start seeing more volume. Maybe not this game. He might not see incredible volume, but Brian, you're going to hate that I say this. I hate Jordan Love. I do not think, I think Christian Watson issues are Jordan Love related.
Earmuffs.
I think they're totally Jordan Love related. And as long as Jordan Love's throwing him the ball, I don't think you could trust him.
Well, to me, Devontae Smith is the easy choice, and it's not because of the Jordan Love slander that I hear. I actually think Love has shown a lot of flashes, and there's been a little bit too much of him trying to do too much, especially late in games. The play calling from LaFleur, surprisingly, has been really bad. They haven't been able to establish a running game. I've had a lot of problems, and look, Love has had his share of issues too. But even beyond that, Christian Watson, even when he's in, is not the most targeted receiver in this offense. It has been my boy Romeo Doubs. On top of that, Devontae Smith is still Devontae Smith. We tend to freak out about these receivers. Kev mentioned earlier T. Higgins. Unless something changes in their situation, the talent doesn't go away. Smith's situation didn't change. Higgins, at least, Burrow was injured. We can understand a little bit of that scenario. But Devontae Smith is going to have games where he goes off. It's inevitable. There's going to be a game where they bracket A.J. Brown. Smith is going to be wide open. And Watson, that offense just hasn't been as reliable. And when it is, it seems to be Romeo Doubs getting most of the attention. So to me, this is an easy one. Put Devontae Smith in. John Hyder, start 3. Evans, Addison, Thomas. I'm guessing that's Michael Thomas. Reed. All right, so we got 4 guys here. We got Mike Evans, Jordan Addison, Michael Thomas, and Jaden Reed, Mr. Demon.
Ooh, well, Evans and Addison for sure. And then between Reed and Thomas, I mean, I'm probably going Thomas. You said Watson's playing, so I'm definitely going Thomas. If Watson wasn't playing, it might have been Reed. You could have made an argument for Reed, but yeah, it's Evans, Addison, and Thomas for me.
Does that the crap that is the Saints offense and Derek Carr scare you at all and affect your decision making here?
I mean, it scares me, but it doesn't affect my decision making considering it's Jaden Reed.
That's true. And I guess the Packers offense has not been that much better, at least only in spurts.
Yeah, it's an interesting question because Mike Evans, receivers aren't exactly setting the world on fire against the Bills. They're not bad. The Bills are middle of the pack against receivers. Where you want to target Buffalo is in the running game. But he's still a must start because he's the best of the 4, I think, as far as, upside and he any week he could give you 20, 30 points. Addison is locked into your lineup after last week. There's no way, as long as Jefferson's out, and probably even after he comes back, I think Addison might be a rest of season starter. And then the Thomas and Reed discussion, which it really does come down to, for me, it kind of the tiebreaker is the volume that I think Thomas should get. And the fact that the Saints play the Colts, who are nothing special against quarterbacks and stopping receivers. Whereas Jaden Reed, the Vikings aren't really great at stopping receivers either, but what rung is he on that totem pole? 4th, 5th, 6th? I feel like, unfortunately, even though Reed is, I think, the sexier play, Thomas is the safer play.
Yeah, I have to agree with you guys. I don't love it. It's not a chasm between Thomas and Reed, but Thomas is the smarter play, regardless of matchup. Evans and Addison obviously are locked in. So go with Slant Boy as some.
I like it.
Art Setterholm or Cedarholm. Who to start? Zay Flowers or Jordan Addison, Kev? A couple of first-round rookie wide receivers.
And I just talked about Addison potentially being locked into your lineup. That is until you see Zay Flowers on the other side. and you see that he's matching up against, Brian's making a face, ladies and gentlemen. That is, listen,
continue.
I'm not,
Can't
I'm
help
not,
my facial expressions.
I'm not
They
making
just
my
happen.
choice. I'm talking through my feelings. Okay. It's therapy.
Your feelings might incite facial expressions. That's how this goes.
All right. The Ravens, look, Lamar Jackson's figured something out. The passing game is clicking on all cylinders. We thought Detroit was a hard matchup. It wasn't. Arizona should be an easy matchup.
Yeah, I was going to say they play the Cardinals.
So Zay Flowers, who has been, arguably Lamar's favorite target this year outside of Mark Andrews, he's a very interesting play. It's hard to imagine sitting Addison, though, right now. It's just hard to imagine after what we saw him do on primetime with the 2 deep bomb touchdowns, one where he wrestled the ball away from the dude who wrestled the ball from him away the quarter earlier.
Various Ward.
I do think it's 51-49, but I think Addison gets the tilt for me.
Yeah, Addison gets the tilt for me too. Also because, they're just a heavier pass volume type of offense. The Ravens can just run the ball and then not pass the ball much. We're not used to seeing them, be super heavy pass volume. And we don't know what to expect from the Vikings. I mean, they'll look good against San Francisco, but then they'll look terrible the following week. So, if they have to play from behind or in close games, they're just going to keep being heavy pass volume. They don't have a great running game, although I do think Cam Akers looked actually pretty explosive last game. So we might see more of that. But yeah, I'm trusting the Vikings pass offense. That's what decides it for me.
By the way, if Cousins puts up a dud in like a 1:00 Eastern time frame after rocking it on prime time, then the world has turned upside down and we're in bizarro world. I'm just throwing that out there.
God.
Kevin, the reason I made that face is because this is not 51-49, especially after last week. Addison is a slam dunk over Zay Flowers. This is not a talent question. We've all seen Zay Flowers and the cool moves he makes. This is an opportunity question and the style of offense. Zay Flowers is comfortably behind Mark Andrews in that offense. That we know that the Ravens want to run the ball when they can, but you've still got Odell actually looked not like vintage Odell, but he looked okay. Bateman is getting healthy. There's a lot of targets. Whereas in Minnesota, if Kirk Cousins sees Addison, I'm not saying Bateman's a thing.
It pisses me off hearing his name because I had high hopes for him.
I didn't know that was a trigger.
He's a letdown.
I'll keep that in mind. I'll use that strategically going forward. But if Cousins, who's missing one of the best, if not the best receivers in the NFL, suddenly decides he can trust Addison, Addison is the one who's going to get those extra targets. He knows what he's getting in KJ Osborne, and it was Addison that was making the big plays. So I think Addison has a lot of potential for these next few weeks at minimum while Jefferson's out. And you mentioned, Kev, I think it could be a nice rest of season play. So while I like the talent of Flowers, the opportunity here isn't close. I think Addison is a slam dunk over Flowers, especially the next few weeks.
Yeah, I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at the take. I really like Zay Flowers. He's been really reliable for fantasy this year.
So before we get to this question, Anthony, I'm going to go back to not a question, but Jay Dragon put this in the chat. We got to give him the shout out. Also, not a question, but a statement. We're his favorite podcast to come and watch with his favorite guys, tied with one other hometown hopeful, Steve Smith. I could be tied with Steve Smith. I'm okay to be on the same level as Steve Smith. Go Panthers. Sorry about your 0-6 start. But hey, Frank Reich said they're glad they got him over CJ Stroud. So there's that. All right, now, Anthony, you can bring the question back up. I wanted to give us some kudos here randomly. Thanks, Jay Dragon. Always appreciate you. John Hyder again, start 3. Okay, he mentioned that. There's another way you want to make sure his question got answered from Facebook, John. Appreciate this. So let's go to the second half of it. Tua or Lamar, Evan Ingram or Logan Thomas. So we'll start with the quarterbacks here, Rich.
Man,
Dolphins play the Patriots, and we mentioned that the Ravens play the Cardinals.
Yeah, and what's up with Tyreek? Is Tyreek?
He said today he's playing. Like
Good
he
to go.
told everybody he was playing.
Allegedly.
Did you see that? According to him, the reason this all was a big thing yesterday because he wanted some attention. He said, "My mom was not giving me any attention, so I wanted to get it from somewhere else." The cheetah is a go. So full steam ahead for Mr. Tyreek Hill.
And this has nothing to do with the fact that Tua is a Dolphin, but I mean, I can't sit Lamar with that rushing floor. And for me, it's Evan Ingram over Logan Thomas. And that's because of I trust the Jacksonville quarterback situation. much more than I trust Washington's, although I know Logan Thomas has had his weeks. But I think, what's his name? That long-haired kid that plays quarterback for Jacksonville.
Trevor Lawrence?
Sunshine?
Yes.
Can we just call him that long-haired kid?
That long-haired kid, yeah.
He's the prince
Sunshine.
who was promised.
He has eyes for Ingram, so it's not like, Ingram is a nobody. So yeah, for me it's Lamar and Ingram. But I wouldn't hate a Tua or Thomas start either, but that's what I would go with.
Yep, we're in lockstep, Demon. Lamar, because of upside and matchup, Tua's most human performance this year, apart from the game against the Bills, was against the Patriots. So I'm not saying it's going to be a duplicate. I do think Tua will be a good start this week. I just think Lamar against that Cardinals defense just has a higher ceiling and probably a higher floor. And then Ingram is just, the like you said, I love the analogy you used there. The long-haired kid does have eyes for him. So we'll stick with Ingram over Logan Thomas, who Brian and I were heavy on a couple weeks back on the waiver wire show, and he burned me. I picked him up. I threw him in my lineup, and I will not be recommending that you start Logan Thomas rest of season out of spite.
Well, I mean, like so many tight ends, though, there's no consistency. Like Thomas will put up a 20-point week and then put up a 2-point week the week after that. Ingram at least gets more steady target distribution. And when you're going for these tight end positions, that's all you have to go on. That's all the data you can really count on. Thomas could score a touchdown. That's very hard to predict. So I agree, go with Ingram. And I will also go with Lamar, not because the Patriots didn't necessarily flummox Tua, but the Dolphins had a lot of success on the ground against New England. That's how they won the game the first time around. Games in Miami, I think they'll run the ball well again. So Tua won't need to light it up. But Lamar, not only the running, Rich, he has been one of the best passers in the NFL this season. I think the question about can he run a different style offense? Check. Can he be a sit in the pocket and tear a defense apart quarterback? Check. Lamar, in a year where no quarterback has been absolutely dominant, is in the MVP conversation, which I know Tua is too. And that matchup, so juicy against the Cardinals. So, yeah, I agree. I love Tua as a Dolphins fan, but I would also go with Lamar here.
I don't think you love Tua. And thank you, Todd Monken, for unleashing Lamar.
Finally. Took a few weeks to get used to the new offense, but I think we're seeing the fruits of that, especially after last week's absolute destruction. Sorry, producer Anthony of the Detroit Lions.
That was tough. That was hard to watch.
Bad.
He's going to take a minute to sob and then bring up the next question. All right. JJ Bruce, Demarcado, Dante Foreman, or Rachaad White? This is like a bottom of the barrel, but we're all a necessary question. Need help. He's 2-5. Only need one of them. He has Kenneth Walker, who actually is on the injury report.
You might need to
keep that in mind, JJ. I don't know if you saw that today. It's out. It seems like there is a slight possibility that Kenneth Walker might not start against the Browns this weekend. But let's concentrate on the question at hand, Kevin. Emmy Demarcado, Dante Foreman after that 3-touchdown game last week, or Rachaad White?
Rachaad White doesn't inspire a lot of confidence.
I got a little something.
That's what Demarcado does. Come on.
Fair enough. Very normal.
Demarcado, at least there's a small sample size we can believe. Rachaad White, we've seen way too much of at this point.
Yeah, I think let's just say in the world where Walker plays, if you only truly need one, as I mentioned earlier, if you're going to go after the Bills anywhere, it's going to be in the run game. They've not been great against the run. I don't hate the play of
Rachaad White hasn't been great at running the ball.
So you're like,
the defense.
It's like they say strength versus strength. It's like weakness versus weakness.
Yeah,
something's got to give here. Yeah. I think I'll take White and Foreman because Foreman plays the Chargers and they've been nothing to write home about on defense. And also he was electric last week, as we talked about earlier today, Brian.
What if Walker plays and we're only
Walker plays? I'm taking just White. I like the volume play. I think he'll good floor. I think he'll score 8 to 11 fantasy points minimum. Gets a touchdown, it'll be 15 to 17, and I'm happy with that.
I'm chasing the points and the upside. Foreman, I know Roshan Johnson's probably going to play too, but Foreman, we saw him do it last year.
He will be active. Roshan will be active.
Roshan will be active, yeah. But we could see Foreman come on the field, and the Bears are just in a position where they can't take him off the field because he's running all over the place, catching the ball. So I think if anybody here has that 30-point upside, it's definitely Foreman. If you have to start two of them, then I'm starting White as my secondary option. But for me, it's not even a question. I'm going Foreman.
I'm actually going to agree with Rich here because I really don't like Rachaad White. He's one of the least effective runners in the NFL on a per touch basis. Demarcado, I think we can all agree. There's like 4 running backs getting touches in that Cardinals defense. I don't want our offense. I don't want any of them. And I'm not the biggest Foreman stan, but 3 touchdowns, a team that wants to run the ball, Tyson Bagent averaging like 2 yards per attempt and running the offense well. And they won decisively last week, and they get a Chargers defense that is perfectly fine with offenses running against them. So I think this sets up to be a nice Foreman game. If I'm only picking one, I'm going with Foreman. If I have to pick a second, yes, I'll throw Rachaad White on there. Demarcado is not an option.
I like it.
Malcolm Senegal with Jamar Chase, AJ Brown, CD Lamb, and Amon-Ra. Whoa, hello.
Loaded.
I hope you're in first place, my friend. Jamar, AJ Brown, CD Lamb, and Amon-Ra. Should I trade Amon-Ra for Kamara, even though I'll only have 3 wide receivers? Malcolm, can you let us know the rest of your roster? Because why trade any of these guys unless you have absolutely no one at running back? I mean, I would assume with this, I mean, Jamar has top 5 potential, AJ Brown, top 5 potential, CD at least top 10, Amon-Ra, top 10 to 15. You could have these guys alone can lead you to the promised land.
Yeah, if you can start all 4 of them, I mean, that's just plug and play every week.
That's the dream.
Let us know the roster settings too. Can you start 3 wide receivers in a flex, 2 wide receivers and 2 flex? Because I would never take the 4 of these guys out of the lineup.
I'm assuming you would throw this to me first this time, or was it Kevin this time?
I was kind of hoping to get a little more info before we answered this question.
Well, there's one thing I do want to say though before we answer this, just on the heels of what we were saying about starting the 4 receivers. You can find running back help on the waiver wire, especially as we get later down the line in the year. So it's so hard to find a stud receiver on the waiver wire, but it's easy to find the running back that'll produce. It's much more likely for you to find the running back that'll produce. So you have these 4 running backs. I mean, look, we just picked up Darrell Henderson, and he's getting points.
And Royce Freeman.
Royce Freeman. Another guy to keep an eye on is Chase Edmonds, talking about Tampa Bay's running back situation. A guy who can
Can't
catch
be much
passes.
Worse than
he catches like 3 passes. Who knows what he can do with them? So I would stay put with these receivers.
Yeah, I think I'm inclined to say that, like, honestly, if you can get your hands on like Kamara Plus in that deal,
that is not a straight one-on-one.
Yeah, because that's not good value. Amon-Ra for Kamara is not good value. You're selling down. So if you could get like Kamara and then like Mike Evans or something, or like, another startable receiver piece, like let's assume Malcolm can only start 3 of these guys and he wants to liquidate. Maybe his running back situation is crap. Then throw a deal. I don't know if Amon-Ra would be the one I would trade though. I almost feel like I'd rather trade CD Lamb. The Cowboys have been a little up and down offensively.
Okay, fair.
And the name value is pretty similar, I feel. So
if it's full point PPR, Amon-Ra is getting like 12 targets every single game. CD has the bigger ceiling, but Amon-Ra has a very nice floor.
Amon-Ra is one of my favorite players to have in fantasy because it's almost like you don't, like we said earlier, set and forget. Like that's so nice to have players like that.
In fairness, all 4 of these receivers are.
They are. I agree. That's true.
I don't even know that I would say CD's ceiling is higher than Amon-Ra's right now. I mean, it might be the same. Yeah.
Yeah. And his floor is obviously a lot lower. So I don't hate throwing CD and getting Kamara plus. I'm trying to think of like a mid tier, like a name I'd be okay with, like Mike Evans,
Michael Wilson. With Kyler Murray coming back.
Oh, okay. I thought you were joking, but maybe a little bit. I could see maybe like a Zay Flowers or like an Addison or something, like, just go a tier or 2 down. And then, this is like, there's a lot of debate about fantasy football. Should you try to win a trade or should you try to make both teams better? Yada, yada. I'm personally in favor of like, I'd like to get more value than I'm giving personally. And I hear all this debating that I hear all the time about, let's make both teams better. And
I don't care. I want to make my team better. I don't care if somebody says I lose the trade.
Right.
If I view my team as better, that's all I care about.
Yeah,
100%.
I could honestly care less about winning a trade. But there's a lot of people like you, Kev, who I negotiate with in my like 12 fantasy leagues. I'm a degenerate. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
And there's just some people who like they keep throwing absurd counters back just because they only care about winning the trade. I'm like, dude, this makes no sense.
I also hate when somebody tells me what I need Oh, you need a
Oh,
backup
yeah.
quarterback. I'm just
And
like,
here's
no,
why. And
listen.
this person's going to do this. And then they,
Yeah.
they,
Yo,
they
yo,
analyze your team.
Yo, I love Brian saying this because I should leak the trade offers that I get from Brian.
I don't send you any trade. What have I sent you back
We've
trade
made
offers?
we've made 3 trades across 2 leagues in
Yeah.
4 months.
But you always start those, and
I
you always
do.
send bad offers, and then I have to win.
Kevin, your
win
offers
the
are pretty
job.
bad. I gotta be
Yeah,
honest.
thank you.
You guys,
Because you're trying to steal value. That's fine as a
welcome to
starting point.
negotiation 101. My
Exactly.
name is
No,
Kevin.
that's what I'm
I will
saying.
be your host.
Start low and go from there. I don't hate the method, but
I
don't
love
make it
it.
seem like
Yeah.
I'm sending bad offers back. You send the bad offer,
love.
which is fine, and then
I
we
love your-
find a common ground.
Brian, you've made all my teams better, and I hope I've made yours better.
Yeah, I got Raheem Mostert, and and he is not disappointed. He has
No,
stayed
dude.
play at a high level. So
You're welcome.
no, but it's at least, Kev, you may really like to get value, but I have found that we can always find a common ground in negotiations. There are a lot of people that
Stubborn.
are like you to start, and
Bullheaded.
then they don't ever move off that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I have somebody in my fantasy in my most prominent dynasty league where as soon as I see so-and-so has sent you a trade offer, I'm like,
You throw it in the trash. I'm not opening this.
Yeah.
do I
They'll
really
send
have
you
to
7
again?
guys, like 7 scrubs for like your 1 stud. Because like, well, you're getting 7 guys.
You know,
this
he
value.
keeps sending me the same guys. Like I told you 3 times, I don't want Cortland Sutton. I and he'll
Why
try
not,
to-
Brian?
not a Sutton
Take
guy.
him.
So anyway,
will
back
say-
on this. I would love, Malcolm, a little bit more context. The reason by itself, if your team is solid at the other positions, I'm not trading these guys at all, like Rich said. But if you have serious team needs, then I would use this as an opportunity to get something back. But Amon-Ra for Kamara straight up is not.
Not
And it's not about winning the trade. You can get more. It's about what you can do to make your team better. Your team is not better by trading away Amon-Ra and getting Kamara back.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. We were on that one for a long time. All right, here we go. Malcolm Senegal again just got sent this trade. CD and Brees Hall. Is this the same team? Do you have Brees Hall? Why are you trading for Kamara when you have
Don't
Brees
trade
Hall?
anybody.
Oh,
did a
I
good
guess
job.
maybe that's like a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, and he can't start all 4. That's understandable.
Yeah.
CD and Brees for Austin Eckler.
No.
I
No,
wouldn't.
no,
It's too rich.
I don't even want. No, I'm not trading Brees Hall for Austin Eckler, let alone CD and Brees Hall for Austin Eckler. And it's
I
not
love
a
Brees.
knock on Eckler. He's been unhealthy. He came back. They're still splitting carries with Joshua Kelly. Chargers offense hasn't been running the ball well in general. And Brees Hall has he could finish his RB1. He has that kind of talent now that he's back and healthy.
I do want to address really quick though, Brian. I think if this is the same league, this is the trade I'd make. Take Brees out of it. Go CD for Eckler straight up and take that, right? That's a deal. That's
Okay.
a deal I'd make.
Okay, yes. And especially if you cannot start all 4 of those guys.
Would you go
Then I'm
Eckler or Kamara?
Eckler.
I might
Personally.
go Kamara.
I think
might go
Eckler's a
Kamara.
buy. Eckler's a screaming buy. The Chargers run defense or the Chargers
And Derek Carr
opponents
is like
is
targeting Kamara 15
That's-
freaking times.
yeah,
He's just
that's-
throwing like
yeah.
I
Kamara.
don't have the
I like
most
Kamara a
faith
lot.
in the Chargers right now. I love Justin Herbert. I love Kellen Moore, but they have a lot of mouths to feed.
Poopy.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
It's
He
more
likes to-
how he's looked since he's come back. He had 3 games off plus a bye week, and he still didn't quite look right. Eckler
Yeah.
and the run game didn't look right. So I'm a little worried
Yeah.
about that for the rest of the season. He is 28, 29 years old.
Yeah.
Even the best of them, they slow down as they get injured later.
I'm buying myself. I think Eckler is a huge rest of season.
I'm not saying don't buy him, but if I have an
Yeah.
opportunity to get Kamara instead of him for the same price,
That's what I'm doing.
I'm getting Kamara. Have you guys watched any of the Saints games? Derek
Yes.
Carr will look and then immediately check
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
It was like I saw the same check down with Kamara over the middle of the field, like 5 plays in a row. I'm like, what am I watching here?
And then he'll
He's
yell
scared.
at Chris Olave.
Yeah, exactly. And then he'll yell at Chris Olave for something
So
he's not even
stupid.
involved in.
I'm not catching a ball that was thrown out of bounds.
Yeah, at some point, Malcolm, I would love to see your entire roster if this is the same league we're talking about. All right, Anthony, let's bring up the next question. Anna, hashtag 2014. Hopkins, trade or hold? I kind of like this question. And Rich, will start with you on this one as like high level.
This is interesting because if I am in a league where I'm pretty confident in my receivers and I'm looking at a playoff run, I might hold him because there's going to be a fire sale in Tennessee. He could end up in a pretty sweet situation and he's DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, he's been, he's not done yet. That's the thing,
Well, he's shown
So,
he's had games this year where like, yeah, he may not be as elite, but he's still a very good wide receiver.
The scary part for me would be you trade him. You're probably not, and you might not get the value you could get him. You could get for him because, let's pick a team that, maybe let's say Buffalo trades for him. So, just like a team that is on the cusp of a playoff berth and are looking to put themselves over the edge. Now all of a sudden, let's say Kansas City has no money, but if it was Kansas City, you'd be like, oh my God, DeAndre Hopkins is on Kansas City now. How much does his value go up by then? So you're probably not going to get the value you think you can for him right now. And he might actually be more valuable to you in the long run.
So here's a question, Kev. The trade deadline is Tuesday. Today is Thursday. So we're talking 5 days. I guess it depends on who's in your league and who's maybe you have some Hopkins lovers out there. Do you try to trade now based on speculation, or do you wait to see where he lands? What if he's in a worse situation? There's always I had that in the league with CMC, and I regretted waiting before he was traded, because if I knew he was going to the Niners, I would have made the trade. Instead, I said no, and the guy was not going to trade him after that.
Yeah, the speculation is it's a risky move, but I mean, you got to risk it to get the biscuit in fantasy football. If you want to win the championship, you got to make some risky decisions. So, I personally don't hate the selling him on the promise of Bills, Chiefs, Ravens, somebody sweeping in and saving him. And all of those teams, every single team I just mentioned, well, really the Bills and Chiefs more than any other team, but he instantly goes into a lot of targets. I can't fathom what DeAndre Hopkins' role would look like in Buffalo based on what we've seen from Gabe Davis this year. He's been non-existent. So I personally think, yeah, you could definitely capitalize on the promise, on the dream of DeAndre Hopkins going to a better situation. I don't think there's any doubt about it. And I don't hate the idea.
All right, Anthony, let's bring it on. Next question. 10-foot waves.
The GOATs.
Always nice to see the boys in the chat. Start 2. Drake London, Jalen Waddle, Josh Downs, half PPR, Kev.
Yeah, so, I love Josh Downs, and Brian and I have been talking about him all year on the Waiver Wire show, and he's finally breaking out. The world is finally aware of how special that kid is. Jalen Waddle is, like we've said, he's the underperforming wide receiver 2 that everybody is kind of running from and kind of scared of. But, tried and true fantasy football players are like, we've seen this movie before and we know Waddle rights the ship like he usually does. So I do have a lot of faith that Waddle will be good rest of season. And then Drake London is on that fabled Arthur Smith. Let's shun the fantasy nerds because we can.
By the way, can we take a quick second and have like an Arthur Smith hate session?
I'm
totally down.
So disgusting with his
pitching everybody now.
Does he not realize that fantasy football is what is making the league so popular? It's what's, paying the bills for him. And then he goes.
Did you guys see the latest today? He actively comments about the fantasy community. He did it in his press conference today.
Yeah, I think I saw that where he says like,
with regards to the running back situation.
Should I tell these guys that? Yeah, it's so cringe. He's such a loser. I hope he gets fired. I'm sorry. Yeah. I take that back.
He'll be fine. He's got that FedEx money. I'm not worried.
You're right. But they're playing the Titans. So that's, not a great matchup. The Titans have a pretty solid defense. I think I'll go full upside swing here. And I like Drake London just fine. I'm starting him in plenty of leagues this week, but I like Waddle and Downs myself out of these 3.
Yeah, I because of the Arthur Smith situation, I'm going Waddle and Downs. I mean, Drake London's a phenomenal talent, but who knows what's going on in that guy's head? You can't trust anybody in that offense if he's at the helm. So, yeah, I'm going Waddle and Downs.
I actually thought I would disagree with you guys. I thought one of you would pick London. I'm 100%. This was an easy one for me and has nothing to do with London's talent, but I love London. That Arthur Smith, it just drives me crazy. Waddle, he's got the talent. He's got the quarterback. He's got a great offense. Don't overthink it. I know he hasn't been the superstar yet, but he's going to get his. All it takes is one breakout, and it'll come. And Josh Downs, and we mentioned, I love the talent. I love the attention he gets from Minshew, but also I really like this particular matchup. I think they're going to be funneled targets against that New Orleans defense. because I think Pittman's going to be bottled up by Lattimore. So to me, that's just set up for a really big day for Downs in particular.
Yeah. And Rhett in the chat is a Falcons fan. Don't highlight his comment because he's using the F word a lot. But he's saying,
I don't blame him. We feel for you. So I totally get that.
He's saying fire Arthur Smith.
I've got multiple shares of Bijan. You know,
I have Kyle Pitts, man. Like,
I love it. Here we go.
Sean Colbert, Gator fan. Start Ramondre Stevenson or Derrick Henry this week. PPR format. Could be Henry's last week in Tennessee. We'll see, Rich.
This is somewhat of a famous person. He's from the Tom Grossi chat, by the way.
Hey.
Sean Colbert.
Oh, okay.
Nice to have you with us.
Welcome.
Start Stevenson or Henry this week. I think Tennessee might not use Derrick Henry much if they want to trade him because they might risk him getting injured or something. So I think
like taking your car out for a fast drive and you're trying to sell it the next week.
So that's the only reason I would shy away from Derrick Henry and go Stevenson, because there's really no benefit for them to start Derrick Henry. Well, I mean, to run him a lot.
Yeah.
To feed him.
Yep. I don't. The Stevenson play is interesting because, Miami's defense they're actually pretty good. Vic Fangio's, doing a good job leading a good unit. But I do feel like Stevenson is probably the best player on the Patriots offense. I mean, he hasn't been getting a ton of utilization, which is pretty frustrating if you're a Stevenson owner. But Derrick Henry is RB13 on the year, and that's including a bye week. So that's pretty damn good. And we've heard Derrick Henry smoke rumors for 3 years now. So I'm not saying I don't believe in it. I've seen some reports as recent as today that he is close to a sure thing and I don't even want to say it. I'm not on wood, but I heard that he's rumored to go to Buffalo, and it's pretty weird. It's
Baltimore.
Baltimore too, and I think Baltimore could use him more than anybody. I think they need him. So I personally probably just start Henry. I don't, like I said, 5D chess. I don't want to outsmart myself. I don't want to, how they say in the football circles, get cute. I think I'll just start Henry because he's the RB13.
I'm going to start Stevenson here, and it's not a slam dunk, but there's too much uncertainty with Derrick Henry. I'm going to agree with Rich on that. I think I think they won't sit him, but you got a great running back in Tajay Spears in the wings, who they've been utilizing anyway. They may want to see a little bit more of what they have in Tajay, whether or not they trade Henry, just to hey, let's make sure this other car we have is going to run nicely with a few more drives before we get rid of the car that's treated us so well for so long. And Stevenson had 18 touches against the Dolphins in week 2. I know that was before Zeke was added. He did score a touchdown for, if you're in half PPR, or 15-point week. So he's had some success against Miami. Pass catching backs have had pretty good success against the Dolphins. I'm kind of leaving Stevenson here. And Sean, I will tell you, I married a Gator. I lived in Gainesville for 5 years, so I don't hate the logo there.
Love it.
George Play 0-1. Start for the flex. James Cook, Roshan, or Darrell Henderson. Kev, Baby Cook.
Yeah, I'm a big Baby Cook guy. I think tonight's a smash play for him. The Bucs are pretty damn good against the run, but I think he could get utilized heavily in the passing game. If you're looking at the game script that people are projecting,
Demon disagrees.
I know. I'm getting a lot of.
He just can't help himself. He can't help
a lot of faces tonight. Hey, you know what, Demon? You start James Cook every week. I'm happy right now.
I like everybody on here, but James Cook is the most handsome guy I've ever seen.
He really. have you seen him? Have you seen him smile?
I've seen him. Yeah, there's a lovely smile.
He does.
It's a lot like Dalvin, by the way. They look very similar. Not twins, but they look
twins.
Similar.
Basically twins. So Roshan, I'm worried about Foreman vulturing, and Henderson, I'm worried about the fact that he was not on an active NFL roster 8 days ago. So he was fine last week. He could be great again this week. But
Royce Freeman actually, also got plenty of usage. This was not like Darrell Henderson taking over. Royce Freeman was actually more effective.
Still Royce Freeman.
He is still Royce Freeman. Okay, fair.
And all that.
But the point is, the Rams don't like Darrell Henderson. Like you said, this was not a guy that was a stud. He might know the Rams offense, but I don't want a piece of either of those guys.
Yeah, this is a safety play for me. Baby Cook is the safest of the three, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I think Darrell Henderson can find the end zone again. He had something like 15 touches. Now, he's not utilized heavily in the passing game, but he's someone that Sean McVay obviously trusts. And we saw it last year. One game in, he already got some pretty heavy volume. And again, he has Royce Freeman behind him. I'm not falling for that Royce Freeman nonsense that I fell when
They are playing Dallas. Does that affect your analysis at all? They might be playing from behind.
No. I'm not completely sold on James Cook. I think as a floor, Henderson and Cook will have about the same pointage, maybe about 10 points, but I think Henderson could have the higher ceiling because his touchdown potential is better.
I'm all James Cook here, personally.
Go.
I really like Roschon's talent. If Foreman
Homer. I'm just kidding.
I'm a Dolphins fan. We're allowed to comment on other AFC East players. I just talked up Breece Hall. All right, it's not unique to the Bills.
Right.
I'm all about Breece Hall. I got him in multiple leagues.
Love Breece.
Yeah, I just think I actually think he has the highest floor and the highest ceiling of these guys.
I would agree.
Henderson knows the Rams offense, but he averaged like 3-point-something yards per carry in his debut. He did get in the end zone, but we can't count on that. Roschon would be a play for me if Foreman didn't score 3 touchdowns and looked so good the week before. And the fact that he's coming off a concussion, I think they're going to want to ease him back into it, whereas James Cook is going to get the majority of those touches, especially in the passing game. So if this is PPR, even more so, I'm going James Cook.
Love it.
Of course you do. I wasn't doing that for you. I'm just giving my opinion.
Exactly.
10-foot waves again. T. Higgins or Christian Watson? Rich.
Easy for me. It's T. Higgins. We talked about Christian Watson earlier. If you were here, I don't love Jordan Love. T. Higgins hasn't been great, but who are they playing again?
The Niners.
The Niners, right?
Levi's.
The Niners have been susceptible to the pass.
Almost decided to go to that game, but didn't. Yeah.
Oh, that would have been so cool. That would have been so cool.
So the Niners have actually been susceptible to the pass on to what T. Higgins does well. So I think we can actually see T. Higgins might have a pretty decent game. So and I'm not trusting Christian Watson.
Yeah, I'm looking at almost this exact decision in one of my dynasty leagues, and I have not stopped sweating and having nightmares ever since. But it is what it is. We're here. We got a ride. T. Higgins is. I traded big for him prior to the season, thinking I was getting a wide receiver 2 to solve all my problems, and instead I've actually started Christian Watson the last 2 weeks over him. So
how is that panned? I mean, he was on bye last week.
Well, yeah, but the week prior. It's just Higgins is just, the ribs, Burrow's health. He's just had a myriad of issues this year. But I think if the ship is going to stabilize, like I said, keeping full in mind that I might look at myself in the mirror in full on clown makeup, I think we have to go with T. Higgins for the time being.
I don't think this clown makeup at all. I think Higgins is the clear choice. Coming off the bye, a team that already the offense started to look a little bit better, got a couple wins in a row. They get a week off to get healthier. They get a Niners team that just got decimated by Cousins in prime time. I think this could be a high scoring affair, even though it is in Levi's Stadium. And Christian Watson, once again, forget the talent. It's not a great situation for him. Whether it's Jordan Love or whether it's the play calling or whether it's the fact that Romeo Doubs is the number 1 wide receiver there, T. Higgins is just the clear choice. I don't like either choice, but T. Higgins is still the clear choice.
And what sucks about T. Higgins is we've said that this season before and then got goosed or got 2 for 12. So we all have battle scars this season from T. Higgins. So coming at you from a person who's suffering, it's you got to just keep suffering. There's some people that are just worth the hurt.
I like that.
T. Higgins is one of them.
Hurt. Okay, I like that. There we go. That's the quote of the night. Teresa Hollingsworth, Kenneth Walker, Gus Edwards, Zay Flowers start to Mr. Phillip Fox.
Yeah, so I've already exposed my love for Zay Flowers a lot tonight. I think he's locked in, and I would normally say Ken Walker without even batting an eyelash, but Ken Walker popped up on the injury report, right? I believe it's reported to be a calf strain, right?
Yeah, calf. Yep.
So
I think he's missed 2 practices in a row. I'm going to verify that.
And we've seen what calf strains can do to your fantasy production, a la Mr. Shiesty. So I'm starting to think maybe Joe Burrow. Sorry, I saw the face. Joe Shiesty.
Shiesty?
That's his LSU.
Joe Shiesty.
Who calls him Joe Shiesty?
I have a video where I call him Joe Shiesty. You don't watch my videos, Brian?
Yeah, I watched some of the videos. I like the high school ones. Those are my favorites.
But I don't really necessarily love starting two players from the same offense. So Teresa, maybe hit the waiver wire. See if you can get your hands on somebody else, because I don't love the Gus and Zay stack. I wouldn't love that. I think Gus, he's had some upside this season. He's had some good games, but I don't think it's permanent, to be completely honest with you. That's my humble opinion.
Yeah, it would be Kenneth Walker and Zay Flowers for me, but if Kenneth Walker's not playing, then you have to go Gus unless there's somebody else on the waiver wire. So yeah, that's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah, take a look, see.
Yeah, I'm just looking at, it is a calf issue. Multiple days not practicing. Pete Carroll is, you can't trust him with injury news, so who knows? I guess I'm not getting to answer the question. Anthony's already on to the next one. What we're talking about, Kenneth Walker's probably going to be injured, so you're probably not going to have to choose between the two. If you do, I would go probably Zay, and Gus Edwards is the RB1, but the Justice Hill there. So if Walker does play, Walker and Zay. All right, Zion. Start two. Jacoby Myers, Chris Olave, Michael Pittman, Devontae Smith, Terry McLaurin. We were picking two of these, Rich.
Two of these. Oh man, this is actually very interesting.
We got the Raiders play the Lions on Monday night. Saints play the Colts. So Pittman, Olave right there. Eagles play the Commanders, and Terry McLaurin on the other side of that.
So Pittman's going to have a lot more, so I'm going to take him off the list. I think I know the quarterback situation's iffy, but I don't know that there's a situation where I'm sitting Jacoby Myers, especially with these other names next to him, and I'm probably going to go Olave and Myers. Again, Devonta Smith.
What if Derek Carr is angry at him and won't pass, even though it wasn't his fault?
I think Derek Carr.
Derek Carr is the reason I'm not trusting. I love Olave. It was really high on him.
Well, the only reason is with Devonta Smith. I'm taking Terry McLaurin out of it too, but because the Giants' defense has actually been pretty good.
So Washington plays Eagles.
The Eagles. Oh, right. I'm sorry. The Giants.
Last time Terry McLaurin played Philadelphia in Week 4. 8 catches on 10 targets, 86 yards for 18.6 fantasy points.
The pass is the pass, Brian.
McLaurin tends to play well against the Eagles. This has been actually a multi-season trend. So that's the last bit of data I'll give.
All right. Well, that might be a pretty good upside play then. So then for me, it would be, if we're going to take that stat into account, and thank you for pointing that out, I'd probably roll the dice with McLaurin then and go Myers after that.
Yeah, I actually couldn't agree more, Demon. Myers has played his way into almost borderline must start for me.
He's wide receiver 14 right now.
He's unbelievable this year. And
Patriots, what are you doing?
Yeah, I feel like the talent.
Hey, Juju, the same thing. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely blasphemous. No, a horrible decision by them. I like Myers as the one, and then I do love McLaurin in this matchup. I can't help myself. I love Terry McLaurin in general, and I think in this specific matchup. Olave is tough to bench. Brian, were you kind of leaning that way too? Were you kind of leaning Myers and Olave, or because I feel like I might.
No, and it's not because of Olave. McLaurin has a great matchup because he just, for whatever reason, tends to light up the Eagles. Myers, as I mentioned, I think as crazy as it sounds, Myers is a must start until he proves otherwise. For whatever reason, Jimmy G, whoever else playing quarterback for the Raiders these days, really likes Myers. I think Olave is the most talented wide receiver on this list, but I just don't trust that Saints offense, and I definitely don't trust Derek Carr. He's going to throw to Alvin Kamara. He's not going to throw to Olave enough to make a difference.
Yeah.
Easy money.
Cue it up, Anthony. Rhett Rosbicki, remind me what the Patriots did last week.
I love Rhett, man. I love him. And I was trying to say this earlier.
Kevin, obviously this question is for you. Let's hear from him.
I brought that up, by the way.
My guy likes to, he talks a lot of smack.
Well, they don't call you the demon for nothing.
He's very supportive. He says a lot of love. He's got nicknames for all of us. I love Rhett. I'm so happy.
Is this the guy who called me the pale guy? Is that?
Yes. Yeah, I'm Bill now. My new name is Bill, and I've been associated. Me and Demon were doing a live long and prosper bit last week, so I'm a Trekkie now. I guess I've locked myself in to full on Trekkie life. All of us now, I guess. Sorry, Rhett. 3v1.
Hey, you didn't answer the question though.
Oh.
What did the
Yeah,
Patriots
what did-
do
yeah.
last week?
So I don't
We have to
recall.
answer the people's
Mac
question.
Jones was unbelievable. I saw Peyton Manning in the flesh against my Bills last week with Mac Jones, and they made
McCorkle? Are we
Josh
talking about
Allen
McCorkle
comfortable.
here?
It was hard to watch.
McCorkle.
McCorkle himself was special last week.
Dirtiest player in the game.
Rhett is rejecting my love. I'm so heartbroken.
Who was that he hit in the nuts? He hit somebody in the nuts.
Oh, that's what he does.
Sauce.
Does it all
Sauce
the time.
Gardner, that's
Yeah.
right.
How dare you?
He
How
does.
dare
Are we
you
out
hit
of,
Sauce
are we out of
Gardner?
questions, Anthony? Is that it?
We might be.
10
That
minutes.
might be it.
What are we
left.
riffing?
All right, guys. Well, this is your opportunity to throw in some questions. This is a fantasy Q&A show. If we don't get any Qs, we don't give any A's.
That's right.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
throw in
Jay
some questions.
Dragon had a pretty cool question before that I saw that Anthony didn't. I think Anthony's sleeping over there. I thought this question was pretty interesting.
Oh, here we go. I know we don't
Ooh.
love, LOL, but would you start Tyson Bagent over Jordan Love? Rich, we'll let you start with this. You were so eager to answer it.
I was so eager to answer it. I don't know that I'm there just yet on my hatred for Jordan Love. I think it's a fair question, but I don't think I can do it just yet. I mean,
Thank you. I was so
fantasy-wise,
worried. I was so worried
fantasy-wise,
you were
Jordan
gonna
Love
say-
hasn't been terrible. I just think he's a bad NFL quarterback, but fantasy-wise, he hasn't been atrocious.
It's a tough ask, right? Because Jordan Love does have a great matchup. Theoretically, he should carve up the Vikings, right? Like he should be going for 20 fan. We saw him as the QB2 for the first, 4 weeks of the season. He's fallen off pretty significantly. But I feel like let's try to remember what Jordan Love has done this season and not just we're kind of living in recency land when it comes to our Jordan Love hatred. But Love has looked good at times this year. So and I like Bagent just fine. I wouldn't start him over Love myself.
Yeah, even in games where Love hasn't looked great, he has shown moments. And I think there are ways when he's playing within structure, when LaFleur is feeling the play calling and dialing open receivers, that he is playing very well. They came back last week only to end up losing, but he has multiple times come from behind. It's just it's really the deep. He tries to like, oh, I'm just going to launch one deep for no reason on third down when you don't have to do that yet. So the decision making still is at question, but I have seen him play at a high level. I still believe in Jordan Love. I want to see an entire season before I write him off personally. So, and Tyson Bagent, come on, one game and he was averaging like 2.8 yards per attempt. Let's not get crazy here.
I have a merchandise idea. A picture with Brian's face on it that says, I still believe in Jordan Love.
I still love Love.
I was going to say, I love Love.
I still love Love.
And what did Kevin say before? What was that little quote that sounded like a line from an 80s breakup song or something?
Some people are worth the hurt.
Yes. There we
T.
go.
Higgins is one of them.
We got to get Rich a shirt because Kevin and I have ours.
Yeah, right.
Tyler Wayner, should I start Joshua Kelly or Chuba Hubbard and Thielen or Shaheed? Is the second one a real question? Thielen's a thing.
Is the first one a real question? I mean, I'm going Hubbard. Yeah.
Well,
Hubbard
here's the thing.
Thielen.
Miles Sanders is expected to be back this week.
Still, Joshua Kelly's hot garbage.
Oh, yeah. Okay, fair. Yeah,
Kelly. Garbage, who had a 61-yard touchdown run against the Chiefs last week. Demon.
He's still hot garbage.
He is hot garbage. I don't disagree.
Yeah. Thielen's a slam dunk. Kelly is, of the backups, Hubbard is clearly better.
Yeah, Thielen and Hubbard. I
got an interesting one in the chat that I'm taking over Anthony. So I just saw this. Should I be worried that I'm not going to make the playoffs with this roster? Fields/Stroud, Bijan, Eckler, Cup, Waddle, Laporta, Olave/JT at flex. He's 3-4, and behind him is 4-3. Last week I scored 60 total. First of all, I don't know about you guys, but I've had multiple weeks where I've scored 60 and then 200 the next week. This
literally
season's been all over the freaking place. But Rich, let's start with you on this one. Fields/Stroud, is this one QB? I'm guessing. I think he would have said Superflex. So assume it's one QB. Your thoughts on his roster as it is?
If it's a one QB, I feel much better about it than I do if it's a Superflex. Yeah, I mean, Bijan, you have the Arthur Smith thing there, but he's still Bijan. He could bust all anytime he gets the ball in his hands, he can bust one off. I like your receivers. You do have Laporta at tight end, which is you're a cut above most of the people in the league. So I think you've got a solid shot at making the playoffs here.
Confirmed that it was one QB. Kev, your thoughts?
Yeah. So what I really like about Chris's team is the prowess of potential second half league winning upside across the board. I think we've seen the worst of Fields this season. I think Fields has turned a corner. But I think you're still starting Stroud most
Well,
weeks.
Fields is also not playing. He's still injured. So
Yeah.
Fields not even an option right now.
But I mean, you got to assume he probably drafted Fields to start, and Fields to start.
He got lucky with Stroud. That's
exactly.
a nice
Having
consolation
Stroud,
prize there.
And then
Stroud there.
trade Fields if you can and get
Honestly,
something else, another piece,
yes.
because Stroud has had his bye week already. So
Yeah, trade Fields and go grab like Tyson Bagent or Jordan Love or something from the free agent. No, I'm just kidding. But Bijan, better days are ahead. Eckler, better days are ahead. Kupp, better days are ahead. Waddle, better days are ahead. That's the theme of your lineup here, Chris. So I think hold strong, hold the bag. Maybe if anything, liquidate one of the assets because there's a lot of names here. So if there's anybody that you got to ship out of town, I don't hate, maybe putting Waddle on the block or something, or JT or something along those lines, just to try to grab some more valuable
I'm not
pieces.
dishing JT. I'm telling you, man, he's
full
back.
league
We
winning?
saw it next week. He
Full
finally
league winning?
surpassed Moss. I think JT is going to it's already taken over that back.
Do you think Zach Moss is going away though?
No,
I don't
but I
think
think it's
so.
going to be like 70-30. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near.
JT is like the talent is just it's going to show.
And
like
Moss
it.
has a great story this year.
Yeah.
He's not Jonathan Taylor. Let's not get crazy.
Then maybe go capitalize on Olave's value since we hate Derek Carr so much.
I'd rather do that. I'd
Go
rather
get a
trade off
twofer.
Olave because Carr is just doo-doo.
Go get Kamara and Evans for Olave and call it a day. Go win your league.
Think about this. If Eckler does start playing better, Bijan, Eckler, and Jonathan Taylor, to start the season, that could be RB 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, you got hope, Chris. Don't give up. Keep riding
the lineup. Yeah, I wouldn't make any
drastic
changes. I think that is it. I did want to mention Jay brought up a good point, and we don't know what we're getting here yet, but Frank Reich is not calling the plays this week. I am very curious to see what that Panthers offense looks like with Thomas Brown calling them. Should give us some additional info on this show next week. All right, I am ready to wrap up the show. We had lots of great questions. We got to them all in past weeks. We've had too many questions, so make sure to join us every Thursday at this time, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. We'll do it for an hour leading up to Thursday Night Football. Kevin, any last words before your Bills take on the vaunted Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Just say a prayer for my heart rate tonight, you guys. I don't think I could take another close down to the wire game. The Bills have been absolutely gutting me the last 3 weeks. I would really like a week off.
If the Bills lose and the Jets win, the Jets are in second place.
That is how it works.
Just wait.
Just pointing it out there.
Aaron Rodgers is healing faster
and
than
you know
we've ever
what?
seen anybody heal.
Oh, he's coming
in the
back.
history of the world.
He got that Wolverine blood in the darkness.
Also, Brian, I just want to point out, if the Bills score more points than the Buccaneers, the Bills will win the game. Just so you know.
Did you say if the Bills score more than the Buccaneers, they'll win the game?
Yeah, well, we're pointing out.
Hashtag analysis. We're going to end it on that.
We're giving the top heavy hitting analysis right now.
Brian McFadden for Legit Football. We got the Pro Football Demon. We got the Buffalo Trill.
Do I get any last words or just Kevin?
We
don't care about my last words.
It's a Bills game tonight. I wasn't going to give myself last
Demon
words.
Hates
but
the Bills, man.
Demon,
I just wanted to thank everybody in the chat. Rhett is a wrestling heel. That's his persona in the chat, so don't take anything he says to heart.
I love it.
I will not be going live for the game tonight, guys. If you came here and you're waiting for that, I won't be going live for the game, but I will be going live Sunday for the Jets game.
Let's go.
Sunday late game and the Monday late game. So, or the Monday night game. So stay tuned for all that.
And for those that don't know, especially those on Rich's channel, Kevin and I do a waiver wire show every Tuesday at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific. It's like 25 minutes. We give you our top 10 waiver wire picks. Check that out. Check out Pro Football Demon. Anything he puts out is solid gold. And come back next Thursday, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, and ask us your fantasy questions. On behalf of the Demon and the Trill, I'm Brian McFadden. Anthony, go ahead and close it out. We'll see you guys next time.
Go Bills.